Andrés Mendoza Celis, later infamous across Mexico as El Cannibal de Atizapán, was a 72-year-old man living quietly in Atizapán de Zaragoza, state of Mexico, whose unremarkable appearance and soft-spoken demeanor concealed what authorities believe was a prolonged and calculated pattern of extreme violence against women spanning 2 to 3 decades, a reality finally exposed in May 2021 with the disappearance and murder of Reina Gonzalez, a 34-year-old mother of 3 whose case shook the country not only for its brutality, but because her husband was an active police officer, a crucial detail that underscored the chilling fact that even direct ties to law enforcement could not prevent her from becoming a victim. On May 14, 2021, Reina went to Mendoza's home after he allegedly offered her help and possible work, an approach investigators later said fit a long-standing pattern in which Mendoza presented himself as a helpful, trustworthy older man, and nearby CCTV cameras captured Reina entering the house alone, calm, and without visible distress, footage that would later become decisive because it also showed she never exited. And when Reina failed to return home, her family, led by her husband, a police officer, reported her missing promptly, triggering a faster-than-usual response that included tracing her last known movements, reviewing surveillance footage, and identifying Mendoza's address as her final location, where Mendoza initially claimed she had left shortly after arriving, a statement immediately undermined by video evidence, leading authorities to obtain a search warrant and enter the property, where they encountered a scene that seasoned investigators publicly described as one of the most disturbing they had ever witnessed, including human remains buried in the backyard, bone fragments, blood stains within the home, women's clothing, handbags, jewelry, cell phones, official identification cards, and other personal items belonging to multiple women, as well as handwritten notebooks, lists, and notes that investigators believed documented encounters with women over many years, suggesting planning, repetition, and a disturbing level of organization, and immediately indicating that Reina Gonzalez was not an isolated victim, but part of a much larger pattern. During interrogation, Mendoza confessed to killing Reina, and according to official statements and widely reported investigative findings, he admitted that after killing her, he skinned her, allegedly stating that he did so because she was very pretty. A chilling explanation that horrified investigators and the public alike, and that authorities said was supported by forensic indicators pointing to deliberate post-mortem skinning, rather than an impulsive act. And during the search, police also reportedly found containers, cooking utensils, and preserved remains, discoveries that led prosecutors and investigators to allege that Mendoza had consumed parts of his victims, giving rise to his infamous nickname, with officials carefully clarifying that while cannibalism allegations were grounded in physical evidence and Mendoza's own statements, some specific acts were still subject to forensic confirmation and legal process, yet were considered credible and serious by authorities rather than sensational invention. As the investigation widened, a clear and tragic pattern emerged, showing that Mendoza allegedly targeted vulnerable women, particularly single mothers, and women facing financial hardship, luring them with promises of help, employment, or support, exploiting trust and isolation to gain control once they were inside his home. And the notebooks and lists discovered suggested dozens of encounters, prompting investigators to state publicly that Mendoza may have been killing since the 1990s, potentially making him responsible for dozens of murders, a figure that, if fully confirmed, would place him among the most prolific serial killers in Mexican history, all while he lived undetected in a residential neighborhood where neighbors described him as quiet, polite, and unremarkable. A man who blended seamlessly into daily life and whose age and calm demeanor served as camouflage, allowing women to come and go from his home for years without raising alarm. Despite Reina Gonzalez's husband being a police officer, and despite the family acting quickly and persistently, Mendoza had allegedly operated for decades without being stopped, exposing deep systemic failures in how disappearances, especially of women in vulnerable circumstances, were reported, prioritized, and investigated. And after his arrest, Mendoza was charged with femicide and placed in preventive detention despite questions surrounding his age and health, as forensic teams continued exhumations, DNA testing, and cross-referencing of missing persons cases in an effort to identify victims and provide long-delayed answers to families who had waited years, sometimes decades, for the truth, leaving behind a case defined not only by allegations of murder, dismemberment, skinning motivated by appearance, and cannibalism, but by haunting unanswered questions about how many women truly died in that house, how long the violence continued unchecked, how many warning signs were missed, and how a man accused of such acts could live in plain sight until one disappearance, caught on camera and pursued relentlessly by a family that included a police officer, finally forced the truth into the open and revealed how unimaginable brutality can exist behind the most ordinary doors.